Hello, my name is Patrick Barnard, and welcome to Save Your Park. I'm speaking to you from Westmount, Quebec, and I'm speaking in historic, Olmsted-inspired Westmount Park. We're only a few minutes, believe it or not, from downtown Montreal. In October 2006, those of us who live around the park were faced with the unthinkable. Suddenly, we were told by our mayor and the city council here that, believe it or not, they were going to install synthetic turf, plastic, on these beautiful historic fields. We're talking about third-generation synthetic turf. That consists of rubber crumbs in part, rubber crumbs made from recycled rubber tires. And in a typical field, believe it or not, there are 20,000, 30,000, sometimes even 40,000 recycled rubber tires. That was the reality we were facing right here. We very quickly formed a citizens committee, Save the Park, Sauvons le Parc. And we're speaking to you now because we know that there are thousands of people out there from California to New York City who are faced with exactly this kind of dilemma, who want to defend their grass parks and keep out synthetic turf. So we have email addresses for you, information, pictures, which we are happy to share. All of this started for us on October 3rd, 2006, when the mayor and council sent us a piece of paper announcing their intention to install synthetic fields right here.
It was a wake-up call for us, and it maybe could be for other people in a similar situation. I think what was disappointing initially was that how could the city administrations and the councillors so misjudge the culture of this community to think that we would not object to the removal of our family park. And what bothered me about the whole project, I think, was the change in vocation of the park from a huge, beautiful, open space that hundreds and thousands of people could use freely into a space that would be dedicated only to sports.
It was when a letter came through the mail, I think the end of September in 2006, telling us that we were invited to a meeting with the City Hall, all of the neighbors around here, to discuss their intention to put artificial turf onto this park, this lovely, open, public, multi-purpose park. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that they would do it.
What I'd like to say is I think we owe our success to the internet in many respects, because through the easy availability of research articles and communications, we were able to get a lot of information, very pertinent information about this product. And when I read that, in fact, it's considered so toxic by government environmental regulatory authorities, it's so toxic that it can't be disposed of in landfills, you have to worry about that kind of stuff. And when you look at the composition, just the fact that it's made from recycled tire crumbs has got to set off alarm bells.
They withheld information. They just seemed to be, I mean, even little things like getting a list of trees was not possible. They withheld one page of a document which showed that artificial turf is bad for the environment. They just absolutely seemed to be certain that they would have to have this turf, this soccer complex.
I was aware of what was going on, but at one point I was on a walk and I saw the Sunnyside Park, and the thing had been clear-cut.
Those of us in Save the Park, Sauvons le Parc, got a lightning bolt of a warning in November 2006 when this same mayor and council clear-cut a natural urban forest of 120 trees and bushes. And it was an extraordinary shock to everyone and made the headlines here.
Before then, I had trust that, the process would go through. But I had just read about 2 weeks prior an article by one of the councillors in the Examiner saying that it was only going to be trimmed and there were going to be viewing windows. And all of a sudden I saw there and it was a clear cut. And it made me realize that we have to be extremely vigilant. Otherwise, we didn't want to find ourselves with a big hole where the grass was going to be.
That's why I asked, and you may remember this, Patrick, that the city not undertake any further concrete plans without a proper public consultation, because I felt we had to establish that at that time.
Mavis Young, the woman you've just heard, was one of the founders of Save the Parc, Sauvons le Parc. And from the very beginning, Mavis concentrated our energies on having a public consultation.
I had always felt that if we managed to get a public consultation, that the citizens of Westmount would overwhelmingly reject that project. They love their park. They love it as a family park. They've used it as a family park for 100 years. And I always felt that we could win this battle as long as people had the chance to express themselves. And express themselves they did. It was a fantastic meeting.
One of the things that really influenced people then was seeing some pictures put together by the very well-known Montreal geographer Camilo Pérez Arrau. Arrau showed us thermal images which he had made way before this turf battle started. He had taken these grass fields and used them as a point of comparison with Montreal's synthetic fields. And he compared satellite photos. Guess what? These meadows behind me are beautifully blue and cool. They're environmentally friendly. But the famous synthetic fields of Montreal, when seen from space, are red, and they are hot.
I think the consultation was a turning point in this whole thing. It also allowed us to have a voice that was multiplied by many people within the community, not just the 2 or 3 spokespeople that were as part of the Save the Park. But with having, you know, between 200 and 300 people at the consultation, it became clear that Westmounters, as general, didn't want the turf.
If you are interested in fighting for your grass and stopping it being replaced by synthetic turf, there's a website you really need to know about. It is the premium website in North America for information. It's run by a fascinating lawyer from Newton, Massachusetts called Guy Mefendereski. And the address of that website is www.synturf.org.
Every time we save a natural grass field, I think we have advanced the cause of nature and the environment, maybe more than just by a field, because that cascades into other communities. And it will come to a point where I hope someday people would say, you see, at Westmount they said no, we can say no too.
We don't have artificial turf on that park right now, and that's a huge victory. The fact is, we don't have something toxic that is completely fenced around. We wouldn't have chosen to have a fenced natural turf area either. The citizens of this community won through that exercise, and I think other people on the continent can learn about this, about how we got together, how we organized, and how we fought this project. So yes, I feel pretty good about it. I'm not happy about spending $800,000 on beautifying and putting up a fence, again for a limited time, but at least we're not looking at a whole park covered with artificial fake plastic grass at this time.
We have to really get involved, okay? We can't let council or experts or consultants' reports take care of it, because it doesn't really represent the will of the citizens. And it's only by becoming involved that we were able to influence the decision. And for me, the most important part is not to have the synthetic turf, because of the potential toxicity, the smell, the heat effect, for all kinds of reasons. And from that point of view, we want 100%, because there is not going to be any synthetic turf. And it's only by our involvement. Had we not been involved, that we would be having synthetic turf. That's really the difference.
It's not easy. It is not easy. If I have learned one thing, I would quote one of our neighbors, and it is that nothing is unthinkable. That what I might consider preposterous, that who would think of doing something like this, somebody else who maybe doesn't value it as much or doesn't care about it as much, would think about it and is thinking about it.